So 2025 is a pretty big year for Windows 10. It both turned 10 years old and is going out of support in October. And as we prepare to say goodbye and maybe good riddance depending on who you are, we're going to give it a proper send-off by upgrading through every single version of it over the next couple hours. Hello everybody and welcome back to another iteration of the Windows Upgrade Saga. We're still doing this thing because you all really seem to like it whenever I sit down in front of a computer for hours on end doing something that no reasonable person would ever need to do. But hey, they are fun to make. I just need to space them out a little bit, which is why it's been a couple years since we did the last one. And there's going to be some changes this time around, mainly because Windows 10 isn't really a single operating system. It's more of an OS family, with 14 versions being released over 7 years. So what I've decided to do is upgrade through all of them. So we're not going to be taking a look at any of the betas or the early developer previews. We're just going to be focusing on the final releases of these operating system versions. And the machine we're going to be using is the Alienware M11X that was sent to me by a viewer named Case a few years back. This has shown up on a few videos on this channel over the years, and it does meet Windows 10 system requirements. So we're going to get started with version 1507, released on July 29th, 2015. So these are, of course, all 64-bit editions of Windows 10, and the ISOs that I downloaded should, anyways, have both the Pro and Home editions on them to where you can choose. So it shouldn't matter what we pick here, so we're just going to say Windows 10 Pro. And if I have to re-download something later, then I guess I have to re-download something. But we'll accept the license agreements, go to custom. This system currently has Windows 11 on it from this video we made last year, I believe. So we are going to wipe all of the partitions on here and just format the drive as new, or just say next because we can do that as well. And oh my gosh, I'm going to be seeing a whole lot of this over the next however many hours. I don't even know how long this whole video is going to take to make, but I imagine it's going to be, you know, at least a couple hours runtime. We'll see. Because this is actually the most versions of Windows that I've upgraded through in a single video. This even tops upgrading from Windows 1 all the way up to Windows 10. Which at the time when I did that was the latest release of Windows. But, you know, I do think it is going to be a more straightforward upgrade process since we're just upgrading through all these different editions of, you know, the same operating system. My goal is not to spend as much time as I typically would in each of these versions. We are going to kind of go through and I'll talk about some of the new features that were introduced just briefly. And then, of course, we'll mess with the theme and stuff because that's just kind of a staple of these videos to see if that gets retained as we go through the upgrade process. Oh boy, it's time to enter the product key. Except, no, it's not, because we ain't doing that. We will get it on the Wi-Fi network, though. And yes, here's the dreaded Get Going Fast screen that was like a privacy nightmare if you clicked on Use Express Settings. Everybody hated this, and this was, you know, a part of Microsoft's kind of plan, I guess, to turn Windows into a service, you know, and start kind of making money off of user data, because this was a free upgrade. You know, this was not something that you had to pay for if you had an existing copy of Windows 7 or Windows 8. If you wanted to get like just the full copy, you had to go out and buy it. So they had all this like stuff turned on by default that would, you know, share your inking, typing, and speech data to Microsoft. We don't want any of that. No, we don't want apps to use your advertising ID. And no, I do not want Microsoft to see my location. And then you had all this browser crap as well, connectivity and error reporting. No, thank you. But I mean, who knows? Maybe that stuff doesn't matter anymore because this version of Windows has been out of support for years now. And you know, I just realized something. It says getting critical updates. I hope it doesn't try to update to a newer version because we did connect it to the internet. I might have to retry this again and not do that because I don't want it to get any updates. I mean, I guess if it gets, you know, if it gets us to the latest point where 1507 was before they killed off support for that. That happened in 2017. That's when the general support ended. So you had 2 years to use this version and then you would have to upgrade. But of course, all of the subsequent Windows 10 releases were free to upgrade to if you had a valid copy of Windows 10. Oh, look, it's time to enter the product key again. This is not a really good sign. Did it just really upgrade to a whole different version here, or are we just experiencing deja vu for some reason and it's going through this whole process again? Well, it didn't ask me for, it didn't ask me to connect to the network, so it saved that setting from last time. It's getting more updates. Is it gonna do this all the way to 22H2? That would be hilarious. All right, well, here's a different screen. Who owns this PC? My work or school, or I own it? We'll say I own it, but I don't want to use a frickin' Microsoft account. Skip this step, because you could still do that by this point, and we'll just put in my name, and no, I'm not going to enter a password. Okay, well, we made it to the desktop. Let me just immediately go into WinVer and see what we got going on. Okay, 10.0 build 10240. That is still the original build for version 1507, so it just probably downloaded a few updates for this particular version, like I said. I am going to go into personalization here because I want to change the picture to something that will show up a little bit better on camera. Was there a... Oh yeah, we could just change the Windows accent color. And of course, I also want to set the theme to see if all this stuff will actually stick when we go through the upgrade process for all the other versions. I think we're going to fill up the taskbar with a bunch of obnoxious stuff. We'll do the address bar, and I guess we'll just turn all these on. Links, desktop, you can't even see everything. And then I do want to change the size of the taskbar. We'll lock it back in place, and we'll add some icons and stuff to our desktop. So let's get maybe, let's just unpin weather from start. Let's unpin all this stuff from start because I just do not like this start menu at all. Even on my main Windows 10 system, I still use a third-party start menu tool because I just am not a fan of even the latest iteration of it. Windows 11's, I will say, is a lot better, even though there's a few things I don't like about Windows 11. The start menu is not one of them. And then we can go into the start menu and just, you know, drag a whole bunch of these shortcuts onto the desktop. Pretty meaningless. Oh, we got Skype too. Oh my gosh, rest in peace. What happens when we open... Oh, this is Get Skype. There was a problem with Get Skype. Contact your system administrator about repairing or reinstalling. It's not even installed. It doesn't look like it's just a web shortcut. I mean, this is like this Microsoft.Skype app, whatever thing. So that's just not working properly, I guess. Maybe because of one of those updates that it did. But we go into this PC. We've got our local disk and our drive that we had the installer on. I suppose we can rename the hard drive. We'll just call this Win 10 Upgrade Saga. But yeah, I think we are in a pretty decent spot for this first version here. We've got, you know, the theme all messed up and some icons pinned on the desktop, so we'll see if all that gets kept as we continue on through these versions. We're going to move on now to version 1511. This was also known as the November update because it came out in, well, November of 2015, so just a few months after the initial version of Windows 10. First, though, I need to get that image written to this USB drive here because, yeah, little spoiler alert, this is what we were actually using earlier to go through the installation process. It's what we will be continuing to use because all these DVDs I showed earlier were just props because the later versions of Windows 10 can't actually fit on a single DVD. They're just too large in size. So I actually have all these ISO images stored on my DH4300 Plus from today's video sponsor, Ugreen. It's like cloud storage, but hosted by you, so that you're fully in control of your data, you don't have to deal with ever-increasing subscription costs, and it's really simple to set up. It took me, the guy who spent half an hour trying to reset a password on Linux one time, only a few minutes to get this thing hooked up on my network. You plug it in, power it on, go to any old web browser, or use your mobile device via NFC, and you'll be up and running in no time. Of course, you'll also need to have some hard drives to pop into this thing, and thankfully Ugreen supports a wide range of them for a total of up to 120 terabytes of storage, which is more than you'll ever need. I'm sure that won't age poorly. And thanks to its 2.5 gigabit Ethernet port, the transfer speeds are really fast. I mean, it takes literal seconds to move a 1 gigabyte file off this thing, which you can do from anywhere via Ugreen Link. You're able to customize access permissions so that other users can only view and modify the files you want them to. And it comes with some nice extras like their smart album feature for automatically tagging photos to make them more easily searchable. So be sure to click the link below and use the coupon code in the description to get 20% off on the most beginner-friendly NAS there is. And huge thanks again to Ugreen for making this video possible. Okay, so this time we actually get a choice. We can download and install updates now or just choose not right now. And I'm going to choose that. And no, I don't want to help Microsoft. Thank you very much. We'll just see if we can immediately jump into the install, or if it's going to tell us like, oh, you have to update, you know, Windows 10 more, you have to download some stuff from Windows Update. Alright, here's the license terms. Looks like these were not updated, and we are ready to install. Alright, so apparently we can change what to keep. So if you wanted to, like, have it wipe, yeah, your, like, files and stuff, you could choose nothing, but we're going to keep personal files and apps, and we're off. Well, we're back, and the update did complete successfully, and interestingly, on the desktop here, it did reset the icon arrangement, so it's got everything snapped to the left side here, and the icons for Calculator, Get Started, and Maps have just defaulted to the, default, like, I don't know what this is icon. But the application is still open up, at least Calculator did. Let's see what Get Started, Maps, okay, so they, open up just fine. But for whatever reason, it did not keep the icon, like, arrangement. Let's see what Get Skype does. This actually opens up now, okay, look at that. So this is just an app you would open that would give you a download link to get Skype, which I'm sure is just going to open up Edge and, yeah, now just redirect you to Microsoft Teams since Skype's not a thing anymore, rest in peace. But it did keep our taskbar super large here like we had it. And if we go into the start menu, it looks like it has kept all of that as well. Desktop wallpaper, of course, theme color and everything. Now, I do want to shout out Beta Wiki here for a second, which is a fantastic resource, not just for Windows betas, but also the final releases as well. I am looking at the pages over on their website for all of these Windows 10 versions to kind of get a summary of what was added and what changes were made. Unfortunately, for the Windows 10 November update, this appears to be mainly under the hood changes, not really anything visually that was changed, at least on a major level. They did change the search box here if you have Cortana enabled to say, I'm Cortana, ask me anything, whereas previously it was just a search thing. They also updated some icons. One of those is for the registry editor, so this is actually the modern icon for it, and this is where it was first introduced. And apparently the start menu now, if you wanted to pin things to it, can pin up to 2,048 tiles. If you really wanted to have just a long frickin' list to scroll through. So I think what we're going to do is try to rearrange this desktop again and just kind of scatter these icons around. We'll get some more things to add here, and then we're just going to go and upgrade. Well, we already have maps pinned. We'll do tips. We'll do, can we just drag File Explorer here? Yes, we can. We could also make some dummy files, like let me open up MS Paint and just, draw some nonsense here. And then we can save that to the desktop as just untitled.png because that is wonderful. And we'll go ahead and make a new text document. Give this a name, give it some contents. And so there we go. So we're all set with a bunch of nonsense on our desktop. We'll see if it retains this exact like icon layout when we go through the next upgrade, which I'm currently writing that image right now. So this is version 1607, better known as the anniversary update because it came out about a year after the original release of Windows 10. So we're going to pop that in. And there were some more, visually noticeable changes introduced in this build, and we'll talk about those once we actually get it installed here. So we're just going to open the contents in File Explorer. Oh, I guess while I'm here, why don't we go to View Options and hidden items, and we want to get file name extensions. I also want this to be pinned to the window like that. And we'll just run setup.exe. I imagine that like all of these upgrade procedures are going to be pretty much identical. I mean, I could be wrong about that, but let's see how similar that this looks. And also, by the way, I am kind of keeping track mentally using these DVDs as a visual representation of my sanity, because we are currently through 2 of them, and you can see this is how much I have yet to do, which is going to be just freaking wonderful. So we're going to leave this kind of like right back here so that you guys can see it as well. So we are on our second one, and I will remove a 3rd disk from here when we actually get this next version installed. We're going to once again say no, screw the updates, no, screw helping Microsoft. They did upgrade the license agreement at this point. Ooh, that's some exciting stuff. All right, looking good. We're going to install Windows 10 Pro, keep our personal files and apps. Yep, this is exactly the same as last time. Okay, well, we are not even 3 installs into this video, and we've already hit a pretty major snag, and that is that we just get to this screen here with this boot loop going around, and it never gets past that. But the interesting thing is, we've got the mouse cursor, and it looks like I'm hovering over things that can be clicked, But like I can't do a Control Alt Delete or a Control Shift F10 or a Shift F10, whatever it is, to open up the command prompt. No key combinations work. It's very interesting. Although I wonder, is Control Alt Delete actually going through? Because like I know the options are in the center of the screen. I was seeing if, because yeah, you see that? Yeah, I just did Control Alt Delete and the cursor changed to the thinking one for a second. Was that text to highlight, or no, that's a window to resize? So yeah, I don't know what exactly is going on. And I have let it sit like this for over an hour, so I don't think it's just that I'm being impatient. But I think that we are just going to have to go through and do a clean install again. And at this point, I'm just going to install this version that I've already gotten burned on here. I'm not going to start back from the beginning because I have a feeling we would just encounter this problem again. But it's rather surprising that, you know, we're like, this is just upgrading from the second to the third version. This is not like a major jump. I don't know what's going on. This is pretty wild. I wonder if we can repair the installation. Maybe we can boot off of this and do that. That'll be our first course of action. And then if that fails, which it probably will, knowing my luck, we will... Oh, and... Pff, okay, well that was... Did you hear that? It like... I mean, I think the system's running. Like, it would recognize that we plugged in a USB drive and it came up. So it's not like that was going through the boot process. The system had already loaded by that point. I personally have not seen that before. That's rather wild. But let's just see... Oh, no, it didn't even turn off. It looks like you started an upgrade and booted from installation media. If you want to continue with the upgrade, remove the media and click yes. If you want to perform a clean install, click no. Oh, can we not repair it because it's like an incomplete upgrade? I guess we're going to have to say no because clicking yes will just tell us to remove the thing and just restart the system. So we'll go here, hit next, repair your computer, and let's do troubleshoots. System restore might be an option, because it may have created a restore point before the upgrade. But let's see if we can just do start. Oh, go back to the previous build. That's another option. But let's see if we can do startup repair. Well, no surprise there. It failed to repair our PC. So we're just going to go back to advanced options. And I guess let's see if we can go back to the previous build. Oh, shoot, it worked. Okay. That's awesome. I didn't think that was actually going to work. So yeah, let's see what we're running now. I mean, yeah, we're back to our regular desktop. I'm assuming it put us back to, yeah, 1511. Okay, so that's good. There is a way just to restore that whole thing and, you know, undo the upgrade, basically. So I guess we're going to go in and try that again, but this time I'm going to select to get the updates that it wanted. And I'm hoping this is, again, not going to, like, change the version that it's going to install. I don't really think it would, but I suppose it's not outside of the realm of possibilities. And look at this, download the latest version of Windows 10. We noticed you have older installation files. This is exactly what I thought it was going to do. Or that I didn't think it was going to do, but I thought it might do. It ended up doing that. Although we can say use older installation files down here, which we are going to do. I guess we have a newer version of the installer now. And then it still has to get more updates. Okay, that took a ridiculously long amount of time, but we're here at this same screen. We're going to keep personal files and apps, install, and this is going to take even longer, but let's hope it works this time. Alright, well I got some good news and some bad news. The good news is we did get this build installed so we can move one more DVD over here. Bad news is I did have to go through and do a clean install, wipe the hard drive, because even after doing the upgrades before the upgrade, that still didn't solve the problem. The same thing essentially happened where it was caught on that black screen, and I tried a few troubleshooting methods to get past it, and nothing worked. So what I'm going to do differently this time is I did not connect this machine to the network. We're going to keep it offline and not allow it to get any of the updates, and then see if we can just do all of these updates just offline locally. And maybe, you know, we'll get a better result that way. I mean, this did not cause a problem the first time, but upgrading to 1607 for whatever reason, I mean, it technically did upgrade, we just couldn't get to the desktop. So we're going to go into customize and turn all this stuff off. And this is 1607, by the way, just to make that clear. I did not restart this whole process from the beginning. So we are basically breaking the update cycle here. So here we are. One of the big changes in 1607 was the start menu. This was modified a little bit to where you now have just this app list over here on the side instead of having to go into like all applications like you did before. And then of course you have your pinned applications over here, which we're probably just going to go in and let's just remove most of these and then find like what do you think is the most obnoxious one, like the store app. And we'll make that, you know, super large, and we'll just have that be like the only thing here. And we'll have it under the Life at a Glance section. God, they really wanted you to use this stupid interface, didn't they? And I just accidentally clicked on that, and that's downloading something now. No, thank you. So we're pretty much going to do the same thing, can you guys believe it? And just, you know, customize the OS interface a little bit here. We'll go into our personalization options, set a different wallpaper, all that jazz, you know, make some icons. Why don't we go with one of the high contrast ones? Wouldn't that be fun? I guess we could kind of go through the list here of some of the other things that were changed. So one of the things they did is they revamped the user account control dialog. So like if I want to launch regedit here, this interface you may recognize from Windows 10 today. This is when that was first introduced. Prior to this, you had that like Windows Vista era UAC dialog that just carried over until Windows 8. And then one of the other things we did in the previous install is we renamed the hard drive. So we will do that. Win 10 Upgrade Saga 2. Another very welcomed inclusion in 1607, although welcome probably isn't the right word, but active hours for Windows Update, where you can set the hours you're going to be using the system so that Windows won't just restart when you're in the middle of working to automatically install updates that you can't turn off. And everybody hated that about Windows 10, and now everybody doesn't really talk about it at all because we're all used to it, as these changes tend to go. They introduce a feature everybody hates, everybody complains for a while, it doesn't get changed, people get used to it. You guys know this cycle very, very well. So, yeah, they also introduced the annoyingly named Windows subsystem for Linux beta in this build as well, and that is a feature, of course, that is still in Windows today. So we've got our desktop all screwed up. We're going to, I guess I can safely eject the USB here, and we will copy over the next build to it and get on with that, because I'm really excited to see if this actually works now. So this is version 1703, better known as the Creators Update, the first Creators Update, because the Fall Creators Update would come later. Yeah, we will just see if we can get through this process successfully. And now that we're not on the network, it shouldn't ask us to get any updates or anything. Never mind, it's still going to prompt us to download and install updates. So, all right, we'll say not right now. At least the installer looks a little bit different because we changed the mode to high contrast. And we're ready to install. We're going to keep personal files and apps. All looks good. Let's see if it works this time. Well, here's some good news for once, although let me not jinx it because we're not quite at the desktop yet, but we made it to the like post setup thing here. It is a little bit different in this build. You see, we got to go through these privacy settings again. So we're going to turn those off and accept. No, we're not going to use Cortana. And sure, we'll leave those as the default apps. That's fine. We got to the desktop. It's retained our icon layout, desktop wallpaper, our wonderful high contrast theme with our start menu pinned exactly the way it was. And yeah, so with this version, there were mostly a lot of under the hood improvements. A lot of the visual stuff was in the out-of-box experience. That did get a redesign. However, one thing they did introduce, fittingly with this being called the Creators Update, they introduced the Paint 3D application, which is something that I have used literally one time when I made a video about this update back when it first came out. I have not used it at all since then. So I suppose we can change that and go in here and make a shape. We'll just do like a cube here and draw, or no, we're doing a sphere. Okay, that's fine too. So we can draw that out, and there we go. We've got it drawn off of the canvas. So yeah, this is lagging a little bit here. I know I don't have the proper video driver installed, but I'm just going to leave the default one that Windows installs for us just for the time being, because, I mean, hey, it's working, and we've been able to go through these updates just fine. So we're just going to save this. We'll save it as a project. We'll call it cool because of course it is. And yeah, they also, according to BetaWiki, introduced the new Windows Defender interface in here. So I believe that's the Windows Defender Security Center. So this became a UWP app. And this is still in Windows today, of course. So yeah, a couple of things there. I think we're going to move on to our next build to keep this show rolling. So this is actually the fall creators update that I was talking about, which is version 1709. We're going to pop in our USB drive. And one of the things that it changed that I won't be able to show you since it was removed from this version is the SAM lock tool, or syskey. So syskey by this point was pretty much used exclusively by tech support scammers to lock victims out of their system and try to get them to pay them a lot of money to, you know, fix the problem. Or if you were scam baiting them and they got mad at you, they would just do this too, as I've seen numerous videos on that. But this is an encryption tool. However, by this point, it wasn't really a great encryption tool, and there were better solutions out there, so there wasn't really a need for it anymore. And since it was being abused so much, Microsoft just decided to cut it from the system entirely. So this will not be in the next build. But we're going to hop into File Explorer once again and run setup. And I'm sure the setup is just going to be identical to what we already saw. Ready to install again? Let's do it. All right, another success. So we are now, what, halfway to being halfway there, I think. We've gone through 5 versions. And yeah, this next one will be the... Oh, and let me just drop all those on the floor. Great. Yeah, we got 9 left. Anyways, it's successfully installed. Maybe we want to make some changes at this point just for the heck of it. Let me maybe add some new stuff to the desktop. It looks like we've got some new applications in here. Apparently the 3D Builder application is no longer included in this build by default if you do a clean install. I'm actually not even seeing it. Oh no, there it is, 3D Builder. Yeah, so this is still installed. I mean, I haven't used any of these Windows 10 like UWP applications. I just never like felt the need to. Although I did use the Xbox app recently because I did subscribe to Game Pass for like a month just to kind of test it out. Ooh, here we go. We can change the high contrast settings, so like mess around with all the colors. So let's just make this like as ugly as humanly possible. Oh, that looks fantastic. We're getting like some Windows 3.1 vibes from this. Holy cow. What other options do we have? We can play animations, cursor thickness. We want that to be way high. That's for like the insertion point, by the way, is what it looks like. So now we've got just a really fantastic looking Windows 10 setup here. And we have our new icons on the desktop as well. So let me go ahead and pop in the... Actually, I'm still writing the next version to the USB drive. But one of the things that it apparently changes is the task view interface. It gets a redesign. So here's the current one. Doesn't look as great as it normally does, but you know, this is where you could go in here and make a new desktop. If you had like Windows opened up in a desktop, you can go and, you know, see all of those windows and switch between them. So this does get changed apparently in the next build, which is version 1803, better known as the April 2018 update because it came out in, well, April 2018. So yeah, Microsoft got really creative with some of these names. So this one's on deck. And we're ready to install again. Let's do it. How many times have I said that? Oh my gosh. So, Windows 10 1803. It is installed and up and running. And I just realized, like, I've not been going into WinVer to actually show you that, that these are the versions I'm saying they are. Not that you can see this very well, but it does say 1803 right there. And something I noticed upon boot up is, like, check out the text here for the icons on the desktop. It's all like screwed up for whatever reason. Maybe that has something to do with the way we have the theme applied. But anyways, this is the new task view interface where you now have the desktop switcher up here. And then if you were to go and open up like this PC, and then if we go back into it, there's how your windows show up. So yeah, this is a new interface for this version. You can see it's kept our lovely theme, and the Microsoft Store is the new name for the Windows Store. It's going to, of course, complain about the lack of the network connection. Also, you'll notice a new icon. Microsoft Edge in this version is added to the desktop by default, and there were also some improvements made to the browser itself. So next up on the list is version 1809, which is the October 2018 update. So the second Windows 10 release to come out in 2018. And by this point, as you could probably tell from the last couple versions, Microsoft just ditched the whole creators update, or, coming up with better names for the releases, and just naming them after the month and the year that they came out, which does make sense, but I mean, hey, it's kind of a little less fun than what they were doing kind of intermittently, at least previously. So we have this, I believe, is the halfway point, right? Because we've got how many left? No, we have one more until the halfway point. We've got 7 over here. So I've got 7 over here. This is the 8th one, so we're going to set that there for now and go into the installer. So after this one, we will be halfway done with going through every version of Windows 10. So let's see if we are successful. We've had a pretty good streak going here so far, so let's hope that continues. All right, another success. I am definitely feeling good about this. Let's hope I don't regret that. So we are now running. Let's just get WinVer up here if I can spell that right. WinVer. Yeah, we're now running version 1809. And I think I am going to go and just change the theme back over, at least temporarily, to just the regular one, because this is the version of Windows 10 that introduces the dark theme for File Explorer. So we'll go here and just set it back to the Windows 10 theme, and that should get rid of all of these ugly colors for us. And so we can go into File Explorer. We do have to be back in the Settings app to actually change this, but under Colors, there should be an option for default app mode dark. So we change that, and that should also apply on File Explorer, and there we go. Now I'm not going to keep it like this because, I mean, you can see like it just doesn't show up as well here on video, so we'll set it back to light for now. This is probably the most significant visual change that I'm getting from the beta wiki page on this. It looks like our icons have been fixed, by the way. Now that very well may have been because we, applied a different theme here, but everything looks fine. I'm curious now, what if we go back in and change the theme back to our super awesome one? Yeah, no, they look fine. So that was some weird quirk going on, I guess, with the last version. But yeah, I am going to just leave it here. I think what we'll do is I will reapply the ugly theme before we go into the upgrade. And I mean, I don't really see how that's not going to get carried over, but you never know, it could happen. I believe in my original Windows Upgrade Saga, going from Windows Me to Windows XP, because of the fact that XP introduces the Luna theme and sets that as the default, it actually replaced our Windows Classic theme that we had set. But I don't foresee that happening in Windows 10 here. Apparently, I didn't even know this, but Bing Search is added to Notepad. That's kind of a strange introduction, but yeah, Search with Bing is added. Oh, I guess to like, yeah, you would, highlight stuff and then be able to, yeah, let's actually test that out. If I just write something and then we do not that, but we highlight it and then edit Search with Bing. Oh, and the wallpaper changed there in the background. I must have set it on a slideshow. Test this out. So it is searching Bing. I didn't even know Notepad has that feature. That's hilarious. There's, of course, updates to various Windows programs. Windows Defender is gone in the sense that the name is, but it's been replaced with Windows Security. Of course, it is, the same program. I'm sure it's received some updates as well. But yeah, they dropped the Defender name. Speaking of renamed apps, they also changed the name of the Phone Companion application to Your Phone, which is another thing that I have literally never used on my Windows 10 system, but this is a thing. And apparently we have in Task Manager now, there's an option to view your power usage. Oh yeah, it's this column right here, which really, that was introduced in 1809? I just never really noticed the addition of it and just kind of thought it was here, since the beginning. But no, that's, I guess it has not been. So there you go. And yeah, I mean, you could see our theme carried over once again. Icon layout and everything is the same. I don't think it added anything else to the desktop, though, like it did with Edge last time. Although it did, look at that. Oh, well, this is probably because of the theme being changed. But it set our This PC icon back to the default one. Let me see if I go in and change this back to the theme, if that's just something that was changed there. And yes, it is. Okay. The most exciting thing about this build, though, is we are now officially at the halfway point. We have made it through 7 versions. Let me get the disks here. 7 versions of Windows 10, and we have 7 more to go. And we're going to get started with version 1903. This is the May 2019 update, the first one to come in 2019. And this is actually a pretty substantial version of Windows 10 because it changes the wallpaper for the first time since the OS came out. And it introduces the light theme for just the entire interface. So we'll definitely apply that. And I think we will change the wallpaper as well, because we got to take advantage of that. But yeah, we'll go through and have it do the same checking thing again. This has been the exact same process every single time. So it seems like Microsoft hasn't really been changing these updaters around. Oh, look at that. This is the different version. This is probably the Home Edition. I've been using Pro this whole time. Whoops. All right, Windows 10 1903 successfully installed. Everything is the same. And yeah, we are looking good. So we're going to hop into the display settings here, or rather the personalization panel. And I'm going to change the theme temporarily back over to just the default Windows one. And by that, I mean the light version of the default Windows one. So this will give us the new wallpaper. So there we go. Here is the light theme. I'm sure you guys are very familiar with this, but yeah, 1903 is when it was first introduced. A couple other quick things that I read on the page. They made some changes to the UWP settings application, the design and layout of some of these options in here. And they also gave Windows the ability to set automatic active hours based on your usage for, making sure that Windows updates do not automatically install while you're using the system. So that's a nice inclusion. Of course, it would have been nice to just have things the way they were before, where they weren't forced automatically. And I think I'm actually going to just leave this theme applied, at least for now. We may set it back to the wacky one later on, but I kind of feel like we're in the home stretch. I mean, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, maybe not. It feels like we're in the home stretch. We've got 6 more versions to go through. And 1909, which is the next release, is not terribly exciting in terms of visual changes. I mean, this one, really the main visual change is the new wallpaper and the light theme. There's not really a whole lot in 1909. So I feel like we're kind of getting to the point of the video where I'm going to be doing more cuts and stuff and kind of just trying to speed things along a little bit for you guys. We'll just see how things go. I'm writing the 1909 image to the USB right now. Let's do it. All right, another success, and we're pretty much going to jump right into the next build because there's actually literally not anything to talk about in this release. BetaWiki outright says that the version does not differ much from its predecessor, and it was actually pushed out as a cumulative update to 1903. However, I think I am going to go back on what I said earlier. I would like to apply our ugly, theme because it just kind of feels off now having it proper. Although I will say this huge insertion point anytime you select the text box is pretty funny. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and set our best theme back up here. There we go. That's a lot better. So we're going to hop into File Explorer and let's just start this next setup. So the next release is 2004. Probably better known as the May 2020 update. So again, our setup process here is identical. All looks good. Let's go. All right, another successful install. We are running version 2004 here, and I realized I forgot to put this DVD on deck, so to speak. So we're just gonna move that over here, and that means we have only 4 versions of Windows 10 to upgrade through. And here's the thing that I'm gonna do. According to BetaWiki, these last 4 versions aren't actually that major in terms of the various changes that were made to it. There was certainly under the hood stuff and some more minor visual changes, but nothing that's going to be really exciting to showcase on video. And well, that being said, there's not really a whole lot in this build either, but I'm assuming it's more so than these last 4. A couple of things I want to mention. Windows Subsystem for Linux v2 was introduced in this build, and Microsoft also allowed you to rename virtual desktops now. So if we go in here, we can, name this whatever the heck we want. And why don't we just name all of these so that, we'll see if those changes will carry over, which I'm sure that they will. I don't see why not. I'm also noticing that these icons on the desktop, we have some that have just defaulted to the default blank one, which is interesting. The connect one, do these shortcuts just not work anymore? Are they just gone? That didn't open anything. What about messaging? You see, these apps could have been, I mean, I think the messaging, that's still in here, right? Maybe not. Maybe these apps did get removed at some point. I mean, we still have the contact support thing has been the, consistent one that has just shown that blank icon. But like Xbox, this still has to be on here. Maybe it's just that it was, given a new version and the location of it changed. Or no, there it is launching. I don't know. Yeah, it just, I guess it broke some of the, oh wait, there we go. Okay, it just, maybe you have to run it or something like to re-render the icon. Let's try messaging again. I think this might just have been completely removed. But connect, maps, get office. Well, there's maps opening up. There's the get office thing. And let's see if I hit refresh here. And yeah, there we go. Now those icons are showing up. So yeah, you just have to run them, I guess, to fix that problem. But anyway, like I was saying, it sounds like these last 4 builds just are not going to be that interesting to talk about in terms of, the visual changes that were made to them. And it makes sense because around this time, Microsoft started shifting focus onto developing Windows 11. So Windows 10 was kind of put on the back burner a little bit, and it was mainly given bug fixes and security improvements and that sort of thing. Yes, there were definitely some changes made, but like I was saying, just not stuff that's really super interesting to talk about. So instead of having you guys watch me do this 4 more times, I'm just going to kind of do a jump cut here and skip to either us getting 22H2, the latest version, installed, or if something gets screwed up along the way, which I'm hoping will not happen. And I do promise I'm actually going to go through these 4. I'm not just going to jump directly to 22H2 from here because I want to do this the right way. So let's hope things go right for once. Alright, we did it. So we've got the system running 22H2 now, the latest version of Windows 10, and we were able to get upgraded to this version with no problems whatsoever. Everything worked just fine, and it was wonderful. Yeah, of course, I'm kidding. So we did have one problem with version 20H2 where, for whatever reason, it was not allowing me to upgrade to a later version. And I tried both 21H1, the version that came right after it, and 21H2, trying to skip a version. And both times in the installer, it would not allow me to choose the keep files and apps setting. I had to choose nothing, and it gave an error saying that it just wasn't able to do the upgrade. I tried a few troubleshooting methods but couldn't get anything to work, so I had to actually revert back to 2004, and then I was able to skip over 20H2, go to 21H1, and then continue on the upgrade from there. So that means through this whole process we did encounter 2 issues. The one at the beginning where we were getting caught in that boot loop and I had to just do a clean install from the build I was currently on at that point, and then this whole thing. So not a full upgrade run from start to finish, but hey, I'll take what I can get. And honestly, this video is not nearly as long as I thought it was going to be. And yes, I mean, I know I did just basically skip over recording the last 4 versions here. But also, I just really feel like Windows 10, and maybe this is just like nostalgia bias or whatever, but it just doesn't really feel like that exciting of a Windows version to explore how it changed from start to finish. Whereas with something like Windows XP or Vista, the beginning and end look so different. I mean, the early Whistler builds in XP versus the final RTM release are like 2 completely different operating systems, and it's really cool to see how it changed and kind of gradually became the final release of XP over all those builds. With Windows 10 here, it pretty much looks exactly the same in the original build and in 22H2 here. Yes, of course, there are different applications, there's different UI elements, there are, minor differences between the two. Maybe some would even consider them major differences, but I don't know, for me personally, it just doesn't seem as exciting. So I did kind of find myself sort of, being like, okay, here's a couple things and let's just move on to the next one because there's not really a whole lot to talk about. And I know I've probably said that a lot. And if you notice here on the desktop, we did actually have an icon layout reset happen when we upgraded this version for whatever reason. So it resized the icons because I did at one point make them the large one. So it kind of reset them to the default size and snapped them all to the left side here. So it didn't technically keep our settings exactly as they were in the few previous builds. And this did happen in 22H2. On the previous version, they were exactly the same as they were in the few previous builds prior to that. So, yeah, but the theme here is still applied. Our start menu layout is still the same. We've got all the same things pinned to the taskbar. If we go into File Explorer, we should have the drive still named Win 10 Upgrade Saga 2. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video for what it was. That is pretty much going to wrap it up for yet another iteration of the Windows Upgrade Saga. If you enjoyed this one, if you found it interesting, if you watched all the way to the end, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And be sure to give this video a thumbs up, get subscribed, maybe consider becoming a patron or a channel member to get early and sponsor-free access to my future videos before anybody else. But either way, I just want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.